Let go my ego. Gosh, I feel sorry for people who are not me. Gosh, I just love myself so much. Me, I. Wow, how many times do we do that in a day? Well, I found that that is my ego. And no kidding, right? Yesterday, besides the fact it was a completely miraculous day, I found out a little bit more about my ego through two phone calls. The first one to my sister that even though the subject was nice, I was adamant to get my point across, and there was no way she was going to override what I had decided to do. And it was only until the second conversation later on in that day that, oh my gosh, I did it twice. And the second time I was on the phone with my girlfriend and she was having a hard time. And about 45 minutes into the conversation, she says, well, what should I do? And of course my ego got in the way and I got inflated, and my voice started getting louder and louder, trying to put my point across. And the next thing I know, and I can tell when my girlfriend gets kind of like, well, okay, I've got to let you go then, because I get so redundant with my advice. And I'm like, okay, bye. And it hit me. Oh my gosh, there I go again. My ego is just, I did so good for her, and it was all about me and my advice to her, and it works, and gosh, I'm great. And I had to call and apologize to her for the last 20 minutes of that conversation, because my ego is totally involved in it. And when I do that, I feel like I totally wipe out any sincerity that happens. And but what I recognized is that when I go into my ego, my voice gets louder and louder and louder. And I was like, oh, wow, that is so awesome. I can at least catch that. And I was telling my husband this, and he says, and right after I told him this, I was just like, oh, that's so cool. I can check, I can give myself a check. And I got really quiet after that. In the back of my head, it says, well, what would you do without me? And it just kind of shocked me. And I said, and I just got quiet for a second, and I started laughing really, really hard. And my husband says, well, what are you laughing at so hard? And I said, well, I think my ego just talked back to me saying, what would you do without me? And I told him, I says, but if I tell you this, I'm afraid you think I'm schizophrenic. And he says, well, what makes you think I don't think that already? And of course that turned into another whole roar of laughter. But my point is that I was able to detect when my ego slips in, and I was so thrilled with that. And I had to share with you because that's important to me. I don't want to talk in my ego. It doesn't work very well for me or others. So my challenge to you is to find where your ego steps in, and try to really be a master over it. And with this said, I'm Kathleen Davis, a student for Coach Master Academy with Garrett J. White, and I hope to see you in my mirror tomorrow. Good night.